Every week I get the same questions from students that are stuck on the SAT. 1. Why am I stuck? 2. Why is my score going up and down? And 3. What am I doing wrong? Well, it's pretty simple. You've been fed bullshit advice from social media. So today, I'm going to show you all of the SAT myths that do not hold up the second you get good at the test. I see all of these on TikTok, Instagram, and social media in general. If you fix these, I promise your score will go up. If you choose to follow them, your score will not go up. I can guarantee it. Let's start off with the stupidest tip I've ever seen in my life. Picking the same letter increases your odds of guessing the answer. Let's get this one immediately out of here because if you pick C on every single answer, it does not change the probability of getting it right. It's still going to be 25% no matter what letter you choose. This is not how probabilities work, and whoever tells you that this is how it works is immediately not credible as a tutor, or they're just clickbaiting you for likes. Every question on the SAT is independent. This means that question 12 has no correlation to the answer choice of question 27. There's no global pattern, there's no sequence, and there's no more common advantage. Saying pick the same letter for every single question is like the same logic as if you flip a coin and it's heads 3 times, then it's more due for tails on the 4th time. 0 sense. If you understand statistics, this makes no sense. The only way to properly guess is to eliminate everything that's obvious and then pick randomly from there. That's all you can do. There's no pattern, no magic letter. You need to reduce your choices and then pick from there. So in conclusion, picking C for every answer does not increase your odds, and whoever says it is baiting you or is just a dumbass. Let's move on to tip number 2, and this is a very, very prevalent tip on TikTok specifically, where you have tutors that tell you the period and the semicolon. Whenever you see that on an answer, you can cross both off. These hacks where tutors tell you they work 99% of the time, they are bullshit. There are always exceptions, and I say they work more like 60% of the time. You do not want to base your score on some stupid ass hacks you see on TikTok. You need to actually understand the fundamentals of grammar. Please do not follow these people. I don't want to name them by name, but you probably know who I'm talking about. Now, specifically, a period and a semicolon can behave similarly. They both link 2 independent clauses, so they can both be used to stop a sentence. However, if you have something like a list, where you're separating names or things in a list by semicolon, that works way different than a period. And I'm going to show you an example right now. Okay, we have our question. So let's break it down. As the 14th U.S. Librarian of Congress, this girl has many responsibilities. These include overseeing the collections, which boast more than 162 million items, managing the U.S. Copyright Office, which registers blah, 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 and appointing blah, blah, blah. So you have 3 objects in your list. 1 is overseeing the library, 2 is managing the office, and 3 is appointing the U.S. Poet Laureate. Now, as you may notice, there is a semicolon here as your boundary between the objects in the list. So you have like A, semicolon B, semicolon C. It's like a comma. It is used as a comma in this list. But you have a semicolon and a period, so you must have to cross both off, right? That would be immediately wrong. You would get this question wrong if you use that dumbass tip, because the answer is C. Because you need a semicolon to set off the 3 different objects in the list. There are many objections to this rule and other rules that are framed as SAT hacks, so please think for yourself, don't use these. It will hurt your score. Now, the 3rd tip is insanely detrimental to anyone studying for the SAT. If you worry about the wrong level of question, you are going to hurt yourself. If you are at 1,000 SAT score and you're studying at a 1450 level, you're gonna set yourself back. You need to set up the foundation for the 1100 and 1200 level. This is like doing calculus when you've never taken algebra 2. Very inefficient, very, very bad. Do not do this. If you're at 1,000, you are missing easy questions like basic graphing, basic tables, basic number of solutions. You need to get those questions first before you move on to the more advanced stuff. Students at 1,000 SATs love to pretend that they're held back by these hard questions, but they're not. They're held back by their fundamentals of using Desmos, using grammar, using algebra. If you fix your basic Desmos graphing, your basic grammar, and a little bit of reading comprehension, I guarantee your score will come up to at least a 1200. You do not earn the right to practice hard questions until you reach at least the 1300 level. Now, number 4 pisses me off. This is trying to predict the difficulty of the test by month. The truth is, you can't. It's not possible. You're not College Board. You don't know how hard each month is going to be. This is the equivalent of astrology, okay? It's complete BS. Makes no sense, and it's a waste of time because even if it was true and there's different months that were harder, you can't predict which one that's going to be. The only reason why people believe one month is harder than another month is because maybe that 1 month they took was harder on a concept that they didn't prepare for. That's why they feel that it was harder, because they had a lack of preparation. The only way that you can think a month is harder is if you walk in unprepared and suck at geometry and they hammer geometry. That's how you get blindsided. For anyone telling you that one test is going to be harder than another is just telling you brain rot logic. They're trying to fuck you over and take your money. Please do not listen to them. Very, very stupid. Makes no sense. Just pick the date that fits your schedule, train properly, show up ready, and you'll be fine. Everything else is going to be cope. Number 5 is going to be memorizing vocab words. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend that it's not important to memorize vocab. Knowing words helps you read faster, understand the tone better, and avoid stupid mistakes, but it's very, very hard to master vocab to the point where you're getting every single vocab question right. To actually know hundreds of SAT words, if not thousands, you have to do spaced repetition, daily review over the span of months. And even if you memorize all the words on your list, you can still get unlucky when they add a new word on the SAT and you shit the bed. Vocabulary on the SAT is pretty unpredictable. Even if you prepare for months, looking at Quizlet for hours, you can still get hit with a crazy ass word and still get it wrong. Now, you should still be studying vocab, but it shouldn't be your main priority because the benefit is so marginal. You should study it for maybe 10 to 15 minutes a day. So by all means, go ahead and study vocab, but it's very slow, it's very tough, and it has a very low ROI compared to a lot of others. Number 6 is going to be when people tell you to study for 6 to 8 hours a day. I hear this all the time. I'm going to study for 8 hours a day for the SAT. No, you're not. You're coping. If someone tells you they're grinding for 8 hours a day, I know two things. One, they're studying horribly, and two, they're putting very low effort into study. The SAT is a skills test. Skills do not come from a marathon in one day. Skills come from repetitions every single day in a medium amount. 1 hour focused practice per day over the span of 2 months is going to beat 8 hours per day for 1 week. When you study for 8 hours, you're not him, your brain turns to oatmeal and you start reinforcing bad habits. This is the worst possible thing you can do, and sadly it's the biggest mistake everyone makes. Skill building requires spacing. You need time between the sessions to actually reinforce the material you learned. Look at it like this. 1 hour for 30 days is 30 great hours. 8 hours for 7 days is 56 trash garbage hours. People use the 8-hour days as a coping mechanism to feel productive without actually improving. Cannot brute force the SAT. You need medium amounts of repetition for a long period of time. Number 7 is going to be memorizing outdated formulas. People are still memorizing outdated formulas like the quadratic formula when it's very, very outdated and useless now. You don't need the quadratic formula. You don't need the discriminant. You don't need product of roots, shortcuts. You don't need completing the square. Desmos replaces all of these instantly. The test is about recognizing what to put into Desmos, not grueling through the algebra. People spend time memorizing these formulas because they're coping and they think they're actually studying, or their tutor is just a little bit outdated. The actual SAT math skill you need to know is, how can I change this English into an equation into Desmos? So overall, stop wasting time memorizing tools you're never going to use. It's not 2010, this is 2025. We're not doing this shit anymore. Tip number 8 is that the SAT is curved. The SAT is not curved. People keep saying it is, but that's because they don't know the actual term, which is equating. A curve depends on how everyone else performs. That is the general definition of the term. Equating does not. Your score doesn't rise or fall based on other students. It only depends on how you did relative to the difficulty of that exam. Here's how it works. College Board will pre-test questions, analyze the difficulty, and then adjust the scoring so that the different forms of the test end up being equal. That's what equating is. Not easier, not harder, not curved, equivalent. So when people say, oh my god, bro, the curve was insane this month, this is just cope. There is no curve. They probably just got an easier form, which means there's stricter scoring, or a harder form, and they just shit the bed. So please stop calling it a curve. It's not a curve, and don't listen to anyone who tells you it is. Number 9, and the last tip is going to be, don't take the SAT more than 3 times. People stress about how many times they take the SAT way too much. It really does not matter for the average person. I would rather you take the SAT 6 times and walk away with a good score than take it 1 time and walk away with a shitty score. Most colleges do not care how many attempts you have. They just look at your best score. There's no penalty for retesting, no hidden disadvantage, and really no judgment from admissions officers or most of the schools. Yes, there are a few exceptions to this that do not love multiple attempts, including MIT, Georgetown, UChicago, from what I've heard, but most people are not applying to those, so this is a general tip. The obsession with only taking it twice is kind of spread by a lot of teachers, people who don't know what they're talking about. Just get a good score. It's really that simple. Don't take it 30 times, but can take it more than 3 times. It's not a big deal. Chasing a higher score is a lot smarter than taking 1 or 2 tests and getting a bad score. At the end of the day, none of these tips help you. Most of these tips are spread by people on TikTok or YouTube who don't know what they're talking about and are just clickbaiting you for likes and views. If you actually want a higher SAT score, you have to ignore the noise and focus on the stuff that's actually important. Consistent practice, good reasoning, and understanding how the tests actually work. If you want real training, not just fake-ass TikTok hacks, go to link in my bio. I have a free Desmos course that shows you exactly how to use a calculator the right way. Free, it's very fast, and it kind of clears up a lot of the issues a lot of people have. So stop guessing, stop relying on these stupid-ass myths. They don't work. Go get the tools that actually help you.